Moonhack 2023 Protect the Planet Code Along. Let's begin.
Welcome, Moonhackers. So excited for you to join us today for this code along where we're going to code together the project Protect the Planet. Did you know that at NASA, the scientists were looking for a way to make computer information and data more accessible and interactive? The computer mouse was first designed back in the 1960s when NASA scientists were working hard with flight travel and simulations. A call was put out for a design of a device that would make interaction with computers much easier for their engineers. There were quite a few designs that came forward, and a laser-type pen was what they thought was going to be the most popular, but it actually turned out to be the mouse. So this invention that was designed to help scientists and engineers with space travel has now become part of our everyday life. How awesome! Our project today is going to be designed that the user is using the mouse and its interactivity to play the game. Let's jump into our project.
Start button.
Let's look at some of our key components. I can see I've got the backdrop up. I've got 5 different spikes that are going to be part of my project. And the very first thing I'm going to do is to go and change the name of the project, Protect the Planet by Kaye. So in my saving, I'm going to know what the project is that I'm creating. Okay, we're going to start with this sprite that looks like the start button. We're going to code this so that the player will click on it and it will get the game to begin. At the moment, I wouldn't know if I'm actually on the start button because it just stays the same. So part of what we're going to do is change the colour when the mouse goes over it. So let's get started. Let's start like we normally do with the event when the green flag is clicked. And we're going to place underneath this a forever control block. This is where we're going to code the button to change colour just a little bit when the mouse goes over the top of it. So we're going to do some branching here with an if, then, else block placed in the middle. Now, if we need a sensing block in the middle here, if it is touching the mouse pointer. So if it is touching the mouse pointer, we're actually going to use what is called the ghost effect. So I'm going to drag across this button here. It's got color effect at the moment, but I'm going to change it to ghost. And I'm going to set it to 20 when the mouse goes over the top of it. But if the mouse pointer is not touching my sprite, I want to set the ghost effect to 0 so it stays as it is. Let's test this out. If I hover over it, you can see it changes a little bit. Now remember, you can always adapt and change these. I've tried 40. I like that better. I think I'm going to keep 40. So the next part of our coding, we want the user to click the start button to make the part of the game begin. So we're going to code a few parts to this one. We're going to start a new algorithm when the flag is clicked. And I know that at the end of this, I'm actually going to tell the start button to hide. So I'm going to start with make it show, bring it up on screen so that we can see it. And when it's on screen, I want it in the position of 0, 0, exactly where it is right now. I am going to bring in a control button that is called wait until. And I actually want 2 things to happen for the game to begin. I want the mouse pointer to be touching the start button, and I want the player to click the mouse. So to have 2 things in here, I need to add an operator that has and in the middle. I'm going to drop it here. Now I'm going to go to my sensing menu. So it has to be touching the mouse pointer, and I want mouse down. So they're clicking the mouse button. So here I've got starting the game, the button's on the screen, the player is going to click the start button, which is going to change color a little bit when the mouse is on it, and then want it to wait a fraction of time. So we might put 0.25 seconds, just a little bit of time. And to let all the other sprites know it's time to do their job, we're going to create a broadcast, a secret message. Let's create a new one, and I'm going to call this countdown. We're going to have a countdown begin to let the player know when to start. And then I want that button to hide. Time for it to go away. Okay, let's test out our code and see if it works. So at the moment, nothing's going to happen. It's not going to hide or disappear. If I just hover over it, nothing will happen. But if I hover and click, it hid.
Countdown, costumes.
Time to do the countdown. So let's jump onto the sprite that's called countdown. If you look in the costumes of countdown, you'll see there's a 3, 2, 1, and then the word start. So we're going to code this sprite to do the countdown. So let's start with when the green flag is clicked, we need to tell it exactly which costume to start with. We need to start with 3 because that's the beginning of the countdown going backwards. But I don't want it on screen yet, so I need to tell it to hide. When is it going to show on screen? It's going to show when it receives that message, that broadcast of countdown. So when it begins, we want it to show on screen. Now, once it's shown on screen, don't want it to start straight away, so we're going to wait 1 second because it starts showing the number 3. We need it to wait 1 second, and then it will show 2, and then 1, and then start. Now, I could create those in lots of separate blocks, but I'm going to use a loop block called repeat. And I'm going to repeat 3 times to go to the next costume, and I'm going to get it to wait 1 second then. So I've got countdown show, it's going to show number 3, wait a second, show 2 and wait, show 1 and wait, show start and wait, and then I need to send another message, a new broadcast of start, because once it's hit start, the game is going to start. So let's do that. And once it's done that, I need it to hide again because I don't want it on screen. Yes, it's hidden up here, but that's hiding when the green flag is clicked. We need it to hide once start has shown. Let's test our code. Click our start button. 3, 2, 1, start. The game is ready.
Aiming, sprite control.
Go over and click on the arrow. We need to set ourselves up here. So when the green flag is clicked, what do we need our arrow to do? It needs to hide. We don't want it on screen yet. The game has not begun. Now, the game is going to be played, but stars will pop up on screen and the player will move this target and click on the star to shoot it away, protect the planet. So we actually need this arrow to be on the top layer at all times. So let's add the block go to front layer, and we're going to start it in position 0, 0, just to make sure we give it a starting spot. It's going to come up on screen when it gives the broadcast of countdown. We want people, as the countdown is beginning, to realize that their mouse becomes this target and to have a little bit of control practice before the big game begins. So when it receives countdown, it's time for the arrow to show. And we're going to add a control block of forever because it's going to forever do the following. We want our mouse to become the target. So we're going to set the X and Y position to be the mouse. So we're going to drag across this set X to and set Y to. Now at the moment, setting it to 0 and 0, that's not going to help us. But if we go into our sensing blocks And we are going to drag across the bubbles of set X to mouse X and set Y to mouse Y. Now there's other ways you can get your mouse to control a sprite. However, this one gives you the best accuracy. So let's have a go. Click our start. Here we go. My mouse is now the target, and as I move my mouse around, I'm controlling my arrow.
Stars, using clones.
Time now to bring on our stars, which are what we are going to be trying to shoot at. So let's jump onto the star. Now in my costumes, I can see that there are 5 different stars, all different colours. We're going to use these costumes in our project. So again, when the green flag is clicked, we need to make sure that our star is hidden. I don't want them on the screen yet. We're going to bring 2 variables into this project. We're going to bring in a lives. They've only got a certain number of lives. And we're also going to bring in a score. So let's start by making our variables. The first one, let's call it lives. Okay. So let's set lives, and we're going to give them 10 lives to begin with. We'll be generous. Let's start our second variable, and we'll call it score. And at the start, we want to set, let's change this to score, and we're going to start at 0. Now on your screen, you can choose to move these variables around wherever you would like to pop them onto your screen. I think I'm going to put lives on one side and score on the other. Okay. We need to create some parameters for how these scores and lives happen. So let's start another algorithm when the green flag is clicked, and we're going to add a forever block. Now, this is some branching. We're going to use an if-then block. And we're going to create a parameter of what happens when lives equal 0. So remember that lives start at 10. So what happens when they get to 0? We need to add in an operator block with the equals sign. So when the lives equal, let's change the 50 to 0. To bring the lives into here, we need to go back to our variables and bring that bubble across. When lives equals 0, we're going to send a broadcast, a new one. Let's create a new one called stop. And from our control menu, we're going to stop all. Okay. So we've created our condition around the lives function and what happens. It's time now to get our stars actually coming on screen. Okay, let's start with the broadcast. We want them to come up once the game begins. We created a broadcast called start. So when I receive start, we're going to again use a forever function. We're going to forever go to a random position. Can't have it start in the same place all the time. So start in a random position. When it goes to that random position, from the control menu, we're going to create a clone of itself and then wait 1 second before it then goes to another random position and creates a clone of itself. Now, when the clone pops up on screen, we need to tell it what to do. So we're going to put in here another branching block with an if-then, still inside that forever block, but underneath. Now, games progressively get harder as people continue to be successful. So we're going to also do that. We're going to start slow with our stars popping up, but then make them come quicker. So this is going to sound a bit tricky, but we're going to start off with by putting in an operator with or. We're going to create 2 things. And then on one side, we're going to drop in an operator of greater than. Now, it's a bit tricky look for where the white highlight can see you dropping it in, and you'll get it in the right spot. On the other side, we're going to drop an equals. Our first one here is all about what happens if our score is greater than 10 or equal to 10. Oh, and I need to pop score into here. I said it, so let's go pop it in and take that score bubble. So if the score is greater than 10, or if the score is equal to 10, we're going to go to a random position, create a clone of myself. I went to the wrong menu. Create a clone of myself and wait. If it's more than 10, we need to get a little bit faster. Back here it was waiting 1 second, so let's make it wait half a second before it shows up on the screen. Now, when it gets to more than 20, I want to make it go even quicker. Now, I could drag all of these blocks back in, but I like a shortcut. So I'm going to hold my mouse on top of this if-then block and right-click and duplicate my code and then drop it underneath. I've made sure I'm still inside that forever block, but I'm underneath. And this time, if the score is greater than 20 or equal to 20, I'm going to get it to wait 0.25 of a second. I think some people might get even better than 20. So let's duplicate one more set of blocks, pop it underneath. If it's greater than 30 or equal to 30, we're only going to wait 0.1 of a second. So it's going to be going really, really quick now. So if I shrink my screen down, I can see I've actually got quite a long algorithm here that's controlling the clones when they pop up, how quickly they come up, and going to random positions. We're going to get the stars to be animated a little bit. So let's start in the control menu with the event when I start as a clone. Now here, we can get it to switch to costume, and instead of being specific, I'm going to go grab an operator and I'm going to drop in pick random between 1 and 5 because I had 5 costumes. So pick random between 1 and 5. We'll never know what color is going to come up, but it will be at random. Okay. When it pops up, we want it to show. And we're going to start by setting the size to 0%. So it's going to look like nothing. It's going to be tiny. We're going to add in a repeat block here. And 10 times we're going to repeat. That is going to change size by 10. So it's going to slowly get bigger and bigger until it reaches 100%. Now, then I'm going to get it to wait just a fraction, 0.25 of a second. And then I'm going to, again, repeat 10 times, but this time, changing size by -10. So it will slowly get smaller. Here's where we can add in a bit of a control for the lives. If our star has managed to fulfill this whole algorithm, that means that the player has not been able to click it. So that star made its way through. So we're going to add in here that variables menu. It's going to now change lives by -1. If they did not shoot the star, they lose a life. And then we actually need to, down the bottom of that control menu, delete the clone. We need that sprite to disappear off the screen. We don't want it to stay there. Okay, it's time for us to test our code. Let's see how we go. Start. 3, 2, I'm ready. 1, start. Oh, there is. Oh, now my stars are popping up, which is great, but I'm losing my lives really quickly. Why is that happening? Because we haven't actually programmed it of what to do when the player clicks on the star. So let's jump back onto our star sprite. I'm going to find a new bit of screen because I need to add a new algorithm here. When I start as a clone, and it needs to happen forever. If you remember what we did with the start button, we controlled it so that the mouse was touching it and the button was clicked. We need to do the same here. So let's add in an if-then branching block and an operator that joins with AND. And then back to our sensing menu. If it is now touching, what does it need to be touching? It needs to be touching the arrow. So let's choose arrow. If it's touching the arrow and the mouse gets clicked, we are going to award them 1 point for that. So we're going to change, and let's not leave lives, we're going to change score by 1. And as soon as they have done that, we need to delete that clone so it disappears off the screen. Now let's test if we can click the stars and shoot them away. I'm ready. Now as I click my stars, oh, I missed it. It's going to add points as I get them. Oh, I'm not very good at these shooting games. I'm losing lives a little bit, but I'm also, oh no, they've got faster because my score went above 10. Great. Now, they're only going to come faster as I reach 20 if I make it there. Fantastic. Oh, now they're coming really fast. And I'm done. Okay. How much fun is that? This is so cool. Right. Now it's time to see how we end the game.
Astronaut, interaction.
We have one more sprite in our screen, a little astronaut. Let's click on the astronaut. So what we're going to do is that we're going to get the astronaut to pop up at the end and tell the player how they went. So for the astronaut, we're going to start with when I receive stop. We put a broadcaster stop in before. When I receive stop, that's when it's going to show on the screen. And we're going to get it to say something to the player. Now, I actually want them to say, you got a score of, and tell them their score. So let's add an operator in where we're going to join two things together. So it says Apple, I'm going to put, you got a score of. Now I need to make sure I put a space here. Otherwise, there's not going to be a space when it pops in from the variables menu, the score. And I might put that on screen for 5 seconds. The only other thing I need to add in is what happens when the green flag is clicked for my astronaut, and it will hide. It won't be on screen. So, time to test your finished product. Here's my finish at the end. It tells me I got a score of 23. What's your best score going to be? Hope you had a great time coding our Protect the Planet project. It's lots of fun to make games like these. So what are you going to do to change your game? Maybe you're going to change the scoring system or the lives or the speed of the stars. Perhaps your stars are going to turn into planets or space junk. How are you going to change it and to improve on this project? Here at Moonhack headquarters, we can't wait to see your finished projects. So make sure you ask your trusted adult to share them back with us. Happy coding, everyone.